This episode is brought to you by Enviedhemp.com. Envied has been my choice for my CBD needs for almost a year now, and I can't begin to tell you how it has improved my life. They come in 3 formulas: Clarity, Relief, and Relax. I take a Clarity drop in the morning with my coffee to get me focused, then a drop of Relief for my aches and pains and inflammation after a run or a workout. Then I do a drop of the Relax before I go to bed to help me sleep. I've gotten some of the best sleep that I've had in years, and now with my Whoop band, my recovery band, I can prove it. And now they've come out with a new mixture called Immunity, which we all need to stave off COVID-19. The Immunity Boost is a mixture of turmeric, grapefruit extract, elderberry, licorice root, and vitamin C, which we all could use a little bit more, I'm sure. I just got my first shipment in and took my first drop this morning. They come in drops, which is my choice, a tincture, roll-ons for those aches and pains, and then also gummies, which I think a lot of people out there use the gummies. So you can get it however you choose. So go place your order today. Go to Enviedhemp.com and use the code GURU20 for a 20% discount for life. CBD is a great supplement to keep you healthy and safe during these crazy times. So let's get to this week's episode. This episode of the Golf Guru Show is sponsored by Straight Down Golf Apparel. I am very excited to announce that I have become a brand ambassador for Straight Down. Thank you so much for Mike Rowley and the team for inviting me into this family. And I am very excited to start to share the mission that I feel very strongly about. As Mike Rowley founded this Straight Down company in 1989, which started as a small t-shirt company, but shortly grew into a full-range golf and lifestyle apparel brand that is now worn by some of the top athletes in the industry and now by the Guru, which I'm super, super excited about. His love of golf translates into the products, and this stuff is awesome. I can't wait to share some of the stuff on Instagram and the videos I'm doing for Swing U and with all of you. So if you want to know more about this brand, go to straightdown.com and check it out.
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
You know how to cut to the core of me, Baxter. You're so wise. You're like a miniature Buddha covered in hair.
I want to become a guru so girls will like me. Then I will like myself.
Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules. Rule number 1, no touching of the hair or face.
Of course.
And that's it! Now let's do this!
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Golf Guru Show. I am Jason Sutton, and I am the Guru, where it is my mission to interview the top instruction minds in the business or high performers in all fields of study. Break them down, get them to share all their stories, best practices, and information that have made them successful, and then share it with all of you so we can grow together as coaches and as human beings. Thank you again for all your support of the podcast. And make sure you download this episode and hit that purple subscribe button so you don't miss any future shows that will be coming your way. I have a very exciting show for you, as my guest is Adam Harrell. Make sure you give Adam a follow on the gram at Adam Harrell Golf. Adam is an outstanding coach that teaches at the 1757 Club in Dulles, Virginia, and coaches some of the top juniors in the country that include former number 1 junior golfer in Virginia, Michael Brennan, who's now a freshman at Wake Forest, outstanding player that I've followed for the last couple of years, and Sihon Sandhu, the second-ranked 12-year-old in the world. He is a former Jim McLean instructor, so he has learned from some of the best coaches out there and has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to teaching and developing juniors. But more interesting and impressive to me is that Adam teaches middle school special education as well, which is incredible, which we discuss in length, especially the challenges he has been having to deal with during COVID and what he has learned from both professions that he applies to each of his dual careers. This is a very fascinating conversation that I can't wait to share with you all. So ladies and gentlemen, my good friend, Adam Harrell. Enjoy. All right, Adam, welcome to the show, man. Thanks so much for taking the time, and I'm really, really excited to catch up with you. We've talked a lot since we met. I think several years ago. I don't know if you remember the first time we met. We were at a certification at my old stomping grounds at Dana Raider, and that's been several years, and then we've sort of kept in touch. So, welcome to the show, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and hard to believe that those years ago we've now come to this position. So it's exciting. It's fun. Dana Raider Golf School, tremendous, and my best bud in high school is the director of golf there, Woody Allen, which is.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so there you go. So another connection, and what a name, Woody Allen. So I haven't.
Yeah, that was an epic weekend. Remember we had like 8 inches of snow.
Yes,
we're in a K-Vest certification, and I know you had just left Jim McLean and was venturing off into the abyss of starting your own business, right? I mean, I just remember the cool conversations that we had together, and that's why I was just like really, really. I mean, I know we've kept in touch, and I've watched your career, and but there's a lot of things that I didn't really know about you, and we were just chatting before we started recording that you have a very unique sort of career path that you embarked on, and that's teaching school and also being a top coach and a golf instructor. So let's dive into that a little bit. How, tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Sure.
And then obviously, very challenging times right now with COVID and the pandemic. There's a lot to cover there. So give us a little insight on that.
So great. Yeah. I, since you and I met, I don't know if that was 7 or 8 years ago, I like you said, I branched out on my own and started my own little academy, and lo and behold, as luck would have it, I was looking, just kind of aware of things to do, and I love teaching kids. I love teaching juniors, and I was doing a first tee program at my academy, and the gentleman who was there, like I was telling you before, was we were just talking about his previous career, and he said, "Hey, I used to be a school teacher," and for some reason in that moment, it just, I don't know, it just crystallized. It set off a light bulb, and I went and started looking at the process to becoming a school teacher, under the premise that I could still teach golf, after school hours, which sounds crazy, I know, but and it still is, and it wouldn't necessarily, affect my golf teaching business that much, given what I was doing and where I was doing it and how I was doing it, and the ability to touch, help kids, and in a setting that's not, golf is one avenue to help kids, obviously, and in the school is definitely another. And so I went on that journey, and I was heading down the middle school math career switcher path until a very interesting thing happened there. Our cohort created a mock interview night, and so they brought in teachers from around the county to simulate, like, hey, here, it's like someone going to a personal development course. They bring in interviewees and have a mock interview and say, here's what you need to work on in your interview skills. And I'm always one that questions, like, how did I do? And after one such interview, I asked the gentleman who was interviewing me, I said, I was kind of funny. I was like, all right, let's be straight. Am I in the we'll do business pile, or am I in the maybe we'll call you pile, or I'm in the you got a job tomorrow pile? And he said, well, if you were in special education, you would have a job offer tomorrow.
Wow.
I was like, well, that's nice of you to say that. Thank you so much. I said, but knowledge, right? Knowledge is power. Mm-hmm. But I said, I can't, it takes a long time to do that. And he says, no, you could, there's such a shortage of males and teachers and special ed teachers that if you took this online class, you would be able to get your provisional license and start working K through 12 in any of the schools.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was going to ask, like, how long did it take? Did you have to get a master's degree, or was it something a little bit shorter?
So I was like, really? And I had been doing some golf clinics for the county that I work in. I was already providing free golf clinics for the employees as just a way to give back, maybe also to promote the business. And I had already been giving those lessons to all the employees that would want to come out. And I had a contact. I reached out to the contact. I said, "Is this actually true? Could I do that?" And she said, "Oh my gosh, yes, you'd be great at it. It'd be so fun. We need you. Please consider it." So I career switched as I was career switching, and I went the special education route. Talking about a guy who doesn't know what he wants to do for a second, but I went the special education route. Got a provisional license to go, and through and I started submitting applications after I signed up, after I finished that cohort. And my I guess you could say current boss was talking about how golf affects all of us, right? Was at the clinics that I was providing for the county. And she said, I said, I'm thinking about doing this. And she says, "Oh my gosh, I hire all the special education teachers at our middle school." And she says, "Can you come in for an official interview?" And I said, "Yeah." And so there I went. And now here I am. And this is my 5th year. And I will say my most challenging year.
No doubt. Yeah. I was going to say, how, get into sort of your protocol now with COVID and like how it's changed
certainly
everybody's lives. And then obviously your deal has got to be very, very different and challenging.
Yeah. So backtracking, just helping those kids is, number one, unbelievably inspiring and intrinsically rewarding. And when in our county, March 11th, I believe, was the day that the state, so to speak, shut down. It's like it's like school stopped. It was a Thursday, and it was challenging because we had no protocol for this, and the county, on a whim, just basically said nothing's going to be really graded. So I don't know about you, but when I was in school, and if I heard nothing was going to be graded, that was code for I don't have to do anything.
There you go. Yeah, I've heard that.
So
out of my kids.
So I'm trying to help. So it was it was hard to get kids to do anything. So I'm trying to support the kids as much as I can. One of my kids that I was helping was his family, his situation is really difficult. They didn't have a place to live. The county puts them up in a hotel, so to speak, and found them an apartment. And so I would go over and bring him work because I had no internet. Just bring him things to do that so he had a chance to stay kind of with the system. And then this summer, with the governor's directive to not go back, we're all virtual.
Okay, I was going to ask you if you're in class at all, or are you virtual? Because we're kind of half and half right now with some of our schools.
We are all virtual. However, the teachers can go to school and teach from the school. I have chosen to stay home for many reasons. So I'm home and I'm trying to support the kids. They're all virtual, and so this is my seventh hour online today.
Oh my gosh!
And I gave a couple hours of lessons in between, which was therapeutic in a way, because
I was going to say, to get outside and like
so
do what you really love. Yeah, that's got to be amazing, right?
It's fun. It's challenging. It keeps you on your toes. You have to be extremely patient. You have to be very willing to go the extra mile. You have to be malleable, flexible, creative, adaptive, all of which I think make great, great golf coaches.
Yes,
be able
to
shift on the fly and help people a different way and help the other coaches. I mean, I'm helping or trying to, I'll say, teachers as much as I am kids. I think from my background with golf and understanding how, you know as well as I do, what we do is some part technical and quite a lot of part mental.
Yes.
And helping people see the teaching always says begin with the end in mind, but sometimes I think we forget the end because of all the things that we're trying to get done right now. The intensity of getting a lesson plan created and getting this turned in and getting that turned in and creating a content that kids can all have that's somewhat equitable. So I'm trying to manage teachers' expectations with kids' expectations, and I feel like a project manager at sometimes, but I'm also really just trying to help the kids as much as anyone.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, kudos to you, man. That's like above and beyond, which makes sense. I mean, that's the kind of person you are to like say, heck, what can I do more, right? And then obviously you're making a huge difference in like two different realms, which is impressive.
Thank you. I don't. Some days you just in both sides of it. You're just am I doing enough? What could I do better? How do I get better at this? And it's challenging, but my motto with the kids I teach is, and I work with a lot of kids that are aspiring to be really good players. I'm like, look, just try to get a little bit better each day.
Right.
And I tell the kids in school, if you have a bad day, I'm going to have a bad day. You're going to have a bad day. Let's just start over tomorrow and try to do better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. One of the questions that I had was, what are some of the things that you feel like you've learned from teaching school that it's helped your instructing, and then maybe some of the things you've learned from being a top instructor that's helped you with your being a teacher, middle school teacher. I think the biggest thing going from golf to school is that, if you had 6 individuals in front of you, you wouldn't expect them to all be at the same place. You would expect them to be at very different levels, cognitively, socially, emotionally, physically, technically, you name it. And so you would want to create a little mini plan for each one of those golf students to help them achieve what their goals are. And in school, we call that differentiation, right? Having differentiated lesson plans. And so that's been the thing that's been the most challenging, is that it's hard to differentiate when there's 20 plus kids in a classroom with one teacher, or 2 in the case if I'm in the room. So, expecting kids in school to be at the same place is almost an impossibility. Expecting students to be at the same place, even if they're the same chronological age, is not. We just don't deal with that. We deal with them; they're all over the place. And so that sounds like a junior clinic.
Right. Yeah. And so you'd want to find a way to kind of create a plan for each one of them. And the thing that school has taught me the most, that I can always get better at, is that always finding a baseline. Like what is the student's baseline? Where are they? So that they can move forward, whether in golf, that's where are they from a TrackMan kind of perspective, or a K-Vest perspective, or if you're using other technology, that there's some great coaches that are amazing at finding baselines for their students, and you're one of them that just, here's where you are. Then in school, we can reassess later on and see if you've grown and how much you've grown. And then you could do the same thing in golf. So it's reminded me of how important that is from an educational standpoint to golf, and vice versa.
Yeah, and I definitely bookmark that because when we start talking about training juniors, I want to definitely dive into that, because that's really, really interesting to hear. So before we kind of get into the teaching stuff, take us back, because like I said, we started sort of at the end of your McLean era. Take us back to the beginning, and like how your childhood went, how you got into the game, and then how your career sort of led you to teaching and to your mentor, Mr. McLean, which I consider him a very good mentor, and I've had him on the show, and just has been so good to me. So take us back a little bit and give us a little lineage.
Well, it started on that fateful night when my parents decided. No, I won't go that far back. But won't go that far back. But when I was a couple years, the summer I was born, my father, God bless him, he just had knee replacement surgery. So he and my grandfather, this is very unique, decided to take up the game of golf. I don't know how or why. In a way, it was just one of those, what am I going to do? And they played in our area. I think it was one of only two of these type of courses in the country at the time. The other one being in San Francisco, where they had sand-based, oil-based kind of greens. And it was literally just a giant field with, you see that PGA logo behind you, that circle behind your right ear? The greens were not much bigger than that. They were perfect circles. And they went out, and that's where they learned how to play. And they brought me along when I was 2 or 3 or 4, and kind of just kept going. And it was a blast. It was a hoot. I started playing in local junior tournaments at the age of 4. I still remember my first tee shot. They say traumatic things you remember more than anything.
How do you remember that?
Because I was playing from the 150-yard tees, nice wooden Wilson driver kind of thing back in the day. I teed up the ball. I'm so excited. I'm so nervous. I popped it up. Angle of attack wasn't very good. And I looked up, and there was the sun. And that sun, 93 million miles away, is quite powerful. But I was so freaked out. And I looked up in the sun. I'm blinded. And I'm like, whoa, where's my ball? Where's my ball? Where's my ball?
Yeah.
And it was about 10 yards over to the right. But and so I just there you go. I don't know why. I can still remember the shot. I can still remember the feel. So let's just say that was 30 years ago. But I still remember it. And I just played junior golf growing up, and played other sports, which I think is very important for kids and things. And I played basketball, soccer, baseball, golf. And I came to my parents, and I said, Mom, Dad, that's what I call my parents. And I said, listen, I want to play golf. I don't know what it is. I want to focus on golf. And they're like, oh, okay. What are we going to do here? This is the opposite of some of the things that we deal with as junior golfers and parents. And they said, I don't know, what do we do here? Who do we call? I don't know what to do with them. We play golf, but we have. So my first lesson was from the amateur club champion at our course.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Roanoke, Virginia area.
Okay. Yeah.
I was a member at I'll say very rural golf club called Botetourt Country Club, and I'll give him a shout out. David Mankin gave me my first lesson, and boom, I was off. And I was like, oh, you're supposed to do this? I had no idea that's how you were supposed to stand, or I had no idea. I just kind of just guessing. Lo and behold, I got better, luckily, and I got an offer to go to George Mason University, and I got a scholarship offer, which for our family was a definite necessity. And I was like, sold, I'll go. And coming from a very rural part of the country to the outskirts of Washington, D.C., it was eye-opening, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed learning, and I played on the college golf team there for 4 years. And this story is really neat. I tell this story all the time, but I'll share it here as well.
Yeah, please.
I didn't know what exactly I was going to do. The aspiring young male golf professional, play the mini tours or something, and going to Florida, and it's like, I don't know, and go home, get a job, stay with a family, save money. That was kind of a plan, until on the, like, you know how they say the sign the apocalypse is upon us. It was one of those mornings, just dreadful looking day, and a gentleman who I had worked for in Roanoke called me up. He was now an assistant golf professional, probably a 35, 36-year-old guy at the time at the prestigious Burning Tree Club just outside of Congressional in Bethesda, Maryland. He called me up on a Saturday morning and said, "Adam, I need a favor." I was like, "Sure. What do you need?" It's 8:30 in the morning, which is, to think that I'd be up at that time was number one.
At that age.
At that age, right? He's like, "I need you to do." I said, "What?" He's like, "Can you get all the guys on your golf team, any guys, to come out and caddy today? Because none of the caddies showed up. The day's turning out to be heavenly, if we want to go the opposite of a apocalypse, and we need caddies." And so I started getting on the phone, calling all the guys on the team. Didn't get in touch with any of them. And my brother was there at the time, and he and I, we met, we rode, we drove up to Congressional. I drove up to Burning Tree, pulled in. Wow, what a beautiful, cool club. Me and the guys that we were supposed to caddy for had gotten tired of waiting, and we're on the second fairway with our 3 clubs in each hand playing golf. And so he gives me the 10-second, keep up, shut up, yes sir, no sir, get the yardage. I was like, oh, okay. And we caddy for what later I'd know would be a former president of the golf club, a future president of the golf club, guys that had been there forever. And my brother and I hammed and egged it, literally hammed and egged. Well, my brother's name's Ray. I said, "Hey, take this club over there. He's going to need a 5 or 6 or 7 iron. I'll go over here and help your guy because they're." And they finished, and they came in the pro shop and they said, "Hey, where did you find those 2?" And the guy was like, "Oh no, what did they do?"
What'd they do?
And it was the head pro's first year there. He was sitting in a little, I'd say it's an office, but it's I don't know, it's an office. It's 8 by 10, maybe 6 by 8. And he heard this, and it's like, "Those 2 are some of the best caddies we've had here in a long time. You should think about, getting those guys to go." Oh. And so the guy who knew me, we had a back door where the caddies would come, and it was like a little snack shop. You'd knock on the door. We right behind the bag room, and they'd give him a Coke and a candy bar or whatever. And he opens up the door and he said, "Hey, Adam, I need you to, when you're done cleaning those clubs, I need you to come in here." And I was like, okay. So I come in, and the head professional's there, and he's like, "I understand," because I knew this guy he knew that I was a aspiring golf guy, graduating college, might want to get into the golf business, who knows. And he goes, "I understand you want to get in the golf business." And I said, "Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about it." And he goes, "Why would you want to do that?" I was like, "Wow, that's nice to meet you." And
Old school guy.
I said, but he was funny. It was actually sincere. It was cool. I said, "Well, I don't really want to hang shirts. I don't want to tag merchandise. I don't want to clean the shop. And at the time I didn't know I was going to say this. I was like, I just really wanted to help people learn how to play the game. I just want to teach them." And he was like, "That's interesting." Now, at the time, I had no idea that this guy was the Jim McLean's right-hand man. He was, and his comment was just more to kind of put me in an uncomfortable position, see what I was made of. It was really more of that kind of thing. It worked, and he knew he had worked for Caves Valley with Dennis Sadisher, and he was a really good pro. Knew the business, knew everything, grading, accounting, everything. And at the time when I answered that question, I had no idea that there was a connection there. So, he calls me up a week later and says, "Hey, would you want to come work here? You could caddy, maybe pick the range, clean carts, type thing." And I was like, I love my parents to death, but go home and live with my parents after going to college and trying to make them proud, and then I gotta go out on my own. I gotta try to do something here, and that's where I started. And then that winter, he sent me down to Miami, Florida, to work at Jim McLean Golf School, which is located at Doral Golf Resort and Spa. And the first week I was there, Jim was giving a meeting, and he said, Monday morning meeting, 9
There
o'clock.
you go.
Got to be there. There's no excuses. You better pull yourself off the asphalt and get your butt to work and go to this meeting, that kind of deal. And he said, someone who's been very helpful to me was the guy who sent me down there. His name's Charlie Briggs, great pro at Bernie Tree. And he said, Charlie Briggs has been a great help to me in my career, and he's really been helpful. And I'm like, wow, how sign of the apocalypse. Day over to now I'm sitting here, and I tell everyone I'm one of the luckiest people I know. And I still say that I'm just super fortunate to have had those opportunities. And maybe I made some headway by doing what I do, but without those opportunities, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today.
Yeah. So dig into that a little bit. Don't skip over the McLean years. I mean, you got to give us a couple of stories. I mean, because one of my questions was, obviously what you learned from Jim, and obviously a big influence, still influences, hundreds and hundreds of guys that have worked for him. And also, who were some other influences in your teaching, and what made you sort of leave and have the thought of going on your own?
Yeah, great question. So the kind of that I had been at Doral with the Jim McLean Golf Schools I got down there maybe November 1. My parents came down for Thanksgiving, and my dad, I gave them a lesson, and I said, Dad, what do you think? And he said, well, I don't know much, but I just know that I can tell you've learned more in 2 weeks than you probably almost knew leading up to this. I was like, whoa, you could see that much of a difference. I just didn't. I'm just doing my thing. And he's like, yeah, you get this tell. So the system that he had for training teachers was, we talk about the Monday meeting, but the assistants had a Wednesday meeting. So new hirees who were not teachers yet, there was a hierarchy of how you could become a teacher. I had to go to Monday meetings and Wednesday meetings. And man, I've been nervous in my golf career, standing on the tee box and things, and I've been nervous in different arenas, but never more so than, all right, we're going to open up the floor to questions, and thinking, hey, Adam, what's the da-da-da-da-da?
Yeah.
And having Jim McLean and all of those instructors around and having to answer a question. I
give a presentation in front of that group, right? I know you guys are getting pulled up all the time.
I get it when Mrs. Member comes up to you and says, I just don't want to embarrass myself on the first tee, I get it. So, the training and the topics and the touching on all aspects of the business of teaching, how you answer the phone, what's expected. These are clear expectations. I need this done this morning. I mean, there's a manual on what that meant. I need this done today, what that meant. I need this done, what that meant. And you were trained on all the lingo. You were trained on how to set up a school, set up a way, set up the lesson tee. If it didn't do it right, you have to start over. You were trained on where to film, how to film, how far back, where to place the camera, how high. Painting bag shafts, painting boards, setting up for clinics. I mean, it was, I don't want to say no stone left unturned, but pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a chance to see that firsthand, and like, wow, that there's the work ethic, the commitment, the passion, the dedication to someone's craft is inspiring.
You were his assistant for a while, right? And that's kind of a huge honor, I think, from what I can tell from the program. Yeah.
So there's a kid theme with me, if you can tell. And there was another, again, this goes to the lucky me story. the weird thing about the old office was that you would walk in the front door and Jim's office was to the right. The receptionist's desk was just a little to the left. Jim's personal assistant's office was just there. And then on the ceiling were these reflective little tiles. So you could see over the partitions and people could know who's in the back. And if, hey, is the golf school coordinator there? Where assistants would sit and train and do things and take breaks or what have you. So I walked in. Jim's door was open. Jim pops up and he says, hey, my wife's coming down. She's bringing the boys. I need someone to play with them. Now, I'm new there. Like, it's my second year. I'm like, what do I do? And so I look up. I see people like, I see like it's eerily quiet. Talking about the awkward silence, right?
Mm.
I'm like, play golf with kids. I kind of like that stuff. It sounds like
yeah.
I gave everyone a chance.
They're good players too.
Gave everyone a chance to answer. I'm in the line of sight. I'm like, I know enough about Jim already to like, you got to give him an answer pretty soon here. This is not going to work too well. So I was like, I'll do it. And kind of, I mean, happily. And they were 10 and 10, I think 12 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we just developed a really unique relationship. I was like their big brother, and I got to take them all over the country to tournaments, and I got to be Jim's assistant, as you said.
Mm.
I got to go to Jim's house and play with the kids, play basketball with the kids, play ping pong, work on their game, and see how Jim lived his life outside of the school. And it was nonstop. It was, Jason Aldean has that song "Relentless." He was just relentless about what he was doing. It was just like, I was like, wow, if I just do half of this, I'll be okay.
Right.
And he helped me a lot with, he'd pass me the 8-step swing book, and I go, Adam, edit this and look over it. Okay. You try. Okay. Okay. No problem, I guess. And see if there's any mistakes. Tell me what you think. Does it flow? Does it make sense? And that's an opportunity that I wish everyone would have a chance to do with all the great instructors. Luckily, I got the chance to do that. And so you can't help but just learn a tremendous amount of things just from almost being there. They say being there is half the battle. And so that led, to the Evans Inverness Scholarship Tournament. And he played with my boss at Burning Tree. And I had been with him this was our second or third year together. And he was we were driving somewhere. And he said, Adam, what are your goals? I said, well, Jim, I want to be, your number one instructor down the road. I said, I know that's tough because you got some unbelievable instructors. I said, but I want to lead your academy, your teaching academies, and like hours taught. I just want to, just because if I do that, then I've got to be doing pretty well. And he's like, okay, all right. And so that led me to just grinding and going to these meetings and continuing to try to learn and being around, trying to work on my game. I mean, it was a lot of hours.
Sure.
Which was not really hours because you're working. And the cool thing is we got to help each other. The other assistants. I got promoted later than some of my peers, maybe in large part because of my relationship with the kids, being around the kids. Sorry, my dog's yelling. And so I saw these guys go on and become instructors, but I got more time, in the long-term athlete development model. I got more time doing the fundamentals,
right?
And that helped me a ton to be able to be ready to teach when it came time to do so.
Yeah. What years were you there, and how long were you there before you felt like you were ready to move on?
Great question. I graduated college in '96, went there that winter, so not winter of '96, back and forth to Burning Tree seasonally for 5 years. At the end of those 5 years, I made the decision to stay full-time in Florida, and I was Jim's personal assistant for one more season, or one more winter season, but in Florida. And then he opened up an academy at Weston Hills Country Club, which is where he lived. The Honda Classic used to be there. And so with my relationship with his kids, again, lucky, right? I could pick them up from school, bring them to Weston. And so it made sense for me to start teaching there.
Yeah, I think you were the DOI there, right?
So I ended up becoming the director of instruction there 8 years. We had as many as 8 instructors there. 2 great golf courses, 2 Robert Trent Jones Jr. golf courses, and double-sided range. Awesome. And so that was amazingly fun. And the end of that came when the Heritage Corporation, who bought the property, was affiliated with the PGA Tour Golf Academies. They call them the Tour Academies, and they wanted to put their academies in their flagship locations, which meant that the Jim McLean School, for no real fault of their own, would have to cease and desist there.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out, like 2001 is when I came down for that 2-day like seminar that sort of like, it was an epic part of my journey, because that was when I first started at Dana's, and that's where I met like Jason Carbone and Michael Hunt and Kevin Sprecher and all those guys. I couldn't figure out if you were there or you'd already left.
Mike, I was a roommate of Michael, and Carbone was on my class. They were guys that got promoted a little bit before me, and obviously think about their careers, how great they are.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Kevin Sprecher was a stalwart. He'd been there for a long time with Jim from his Sleepy Hollow days and Quaker Ridge and those areas. And how good is Kevin? I mean, he's amazing. Thinks his tenure at Sleepy Hollow is unbelievable. He's just been there forever. And he's a great instructor. He's worked hard on this game. Consummate professional. And so those are the kind of guys I got to hang around. I mean, it's like, you just
great
can't
style.
help. You just can't help but just be decent.
Yeah, right.
You know?
If you pay attention, right? It's like there's so much knowledge in that little group. And again, that kind of spurred me on to like want to know more because of what I saw you guys doing. And it was really life-changing for me in my career, which was really cool. And then we all kind of kept in touch, and now we're great friends. So it's pretty neat how small or big our industry is sometimes in the teaching world.
This is true. I mean, these kids, these teachers, are spread out, all over the country, and they're at some amazing establishments. And I'm sure if I picked up the phone, they'd be happy to take it. I mean, even though we haven't stayed in touch as much over the couple of years, but they're just, they're great. I mean, the branch is just amazing, and to be part of that environment was great. And, I'm very fortunate to have been able to do such.
Yeah. So you leave there and you're going on your own, right? And
kind of.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you were heading that direction.
Right.
So take us through that, and then how you get to now where you're at 1757,
right? And
doing your thing with juniors. And I want to talk a lot about, how you coach your juniors, because I think it's fantastic.
So again, another story. I went to the PGA Golf Show. I ran into my former college golf coach, and he's running the Nike Golf Learning Centers, and they're headquartered at a course in Reston, Virginia, which is very close to where I am now. And we sit down, we have lunch, we're talking about sharing stories, how many instructors, how much revenue, what they do. I was like, wow, that is eerily similar. Maybe I can come up and just take a look and see what you guys do. I was no super intent to do much. I landed on, I think it was February 8th. I took a car over to the golf course, which is really close, and there's dirty snow piled up in the parking lot. Now, he's told me his revenue. He's told me what they do. He's told me how they do it. Some things are very intriguing about their grassroots marketing campaigns, how they got into the communities and did things. That was intriguing. So I get in there and I was like, I don't mean to be elitist, but it's like, how do you do that much revenue here? This place compared to the places I've been associated with, I was like, it's just not on the same scale.
Mm-hmm.
There's limited flight balls. There's a net. There's no grass tees. There's just mats. They're close together. And I had the decision to go back to south to Florida, to Miami, because Weston is a little north of that, and work back there, or go maybe north, closer to home. I'm from this area, Virginia, Roanoke area. Obviously, George Mason, Northern Virginia, Reston, where they're all close together. And I thought, I've learned a tremendous amount about the teaching side of the game. What if maybe I can learn more about the grassroots marketing campaign, and maybe I can learn more from that side. So it was a move I thought I would definitely try. And I went up there and was working at Reston and started making inroads there pretty quickly and learning some neat things about how, that facility and that organization marketed. And then Billy Casper Golf, after we had done a pretty cool week, one of the big things we do in that environment is we go out into the community and we do employee benefit clinics. We go in and Northrop Grumman, SAIC, Bechtel, you name it. We would go into those places and give clinics during their lunch break for free and just said, here, this is what we do. And it was more of a way to get information into their hands. But Billy Casper Golf acquired 1757, and they said, we had just got through doing a clinic at this church where one of the vice presidents of Billy Casper Golf was a member, and he said, we're close to getting this property. You guys might want to take a look at it. They knew my background being with Jim McClain and working in that environment. And they said, well, so we went over and checked out 1757, which was a Jack Nicklaus design property it was going to be super, super exclusive, high end, $70,000 membership type place. 2.5 miles from Dulles International Airport, potential for flying in, staying, tours, tons of stuff potential. And I walked
Good
in
location.
And I was like, oh my goodness. Wow. If Robbie Fales had been there, he can tell you, is like, potentially is like, oh my gosh, there's 8 indoor to outdoor bays. There's a 6-acre short game area. There's grass tees on at 90-degree angle, but on I'd say the east and the north side of the property, so you can hit in different directions. There's 60 mats if you want them. There's a 170-foot putting green. I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, are you serious? Like, this is, and I was like, sign me up. How do I do this? Let's go. And so that's how I started there in 2009. I had envisions of like creating a mini Jim McClain Academy on the East Coast in the middle part of the country where there wasn't really anything. He was in the Northeast in Florida. And I could imagine, because that was my background of just trying to create that, that environment. But the visions didn't quite line up as well as they could have, and I decided maybe I could go do something on my own and try to do things the way I want, and try to create something that's like that in Northern Virginia. And so I left the facility that led to starting my own academy. Hiring a guy to work with me, and then I wasn't at the greatest facility, but it was fun. It was challenging. I learned a lot. I realized it's hard to start your own thing, do your own thing, but it's rewarding in so many different areas. And then the place that I was at was It's now been closed down because they're going to develop on it. And so the writing was on the wall that that facility was going to close. And I thought most of the students I teach, especially the aspiring students, are members or at 1757. And I just approached them again and said, hey, you mind if I came back to teach there? And they said, great. And I've been there for now 4 years.
Yeah, that's great. And then you started the Elite Performance Junior Academy, I guess. Is that bringing all of the kids that you were already teaching to there? Or like what kind of led you to, I guess, just juniors? I know you teach adults. I mean, you're kind of like James Hong, but you're known for teaching juniors because you got so many great kids and great players. So tell us how that started.
In one of those Monday staff meetings, and Mr. Jim made the kind of offhand statement that a lot of teachers. This isn't meant as a slight. It was just more of a lot of teachers can teach a golf lesson, and a lot of teachers can become pretty good at giving a golf lesson. But he said, if you want to really consider yourself a great teacher, you have to develop players. And all the things that he did for me and helping me with my career and personally, professionally, I was like a middle schooler. I took that literally as gospel, right? And so I've probably still trying to bring that to fruition. And that's where, I gravitate maybe towards the kids and the younger kids and try to just develop them and try to create good players, maybe in a way to gain that acceptance that maybe one day I'll be considered a good teacher, And although there's many ways to be considered a good teacher, but that's kind of how I took it.
Right.
And I've been doing that since I've been teaching, and I'm getting okay at it. I got a long way to go, but I'm gaining on it little by little.
I would say you're more than better than okay from the players that I'm seeing that you're putting out. I think it's amazing. You got the number one junior in Virginia, Michael Brennan, and I've kind of followed his career since my son's played a few tournaments with him, and we've spoke about him. And what a special kid that is, right?
Yeah, you were my eyes and ears there for a bit. I really can't thank you enough for giving me some feedback, and that's what coaching and helping each other is all about, right? He's got a lot of room for growth, and you were kind enough to bring some things to my attention that we tried to work on, and that's been super helpful from a developmental standpoint. But that was Dad was looking for an instructor at that facility where I was. There was also another instructor there. He was a great player, a very good player in the area. Michael's dad had met with him and said, "Who do you recommend?" He's like, "This guy here who works here. Like, just go talk to him. I've watched this guy with kids," and that was super kind of him to do. And so we had a sit down meeting. His dad grilled me. His dad's an amazingly good player. And I gave him my vision of what I like to do with kids. And I told him my McLean, like developing players kind of ideology. And we started working together when he was 11. And I think, obviously at 11, he looks very different than he does now. Structurally, from a maturity standpoint, I mean, you can, John Dunnigans of the world, and they could talk to you forever about how those kids develop, and Lance Gill's guys. I mean, going to those seminars and learning from those guys and trying to navigate the canoe through the stream to avoid any giant boulders was all I do. And it's just encouraging them, trying to think as in teaching, beginning with the end in mind. That's always what I do. And I have probably lost a few students because of that.
Because they weren't committed enough to like the plan, would you say? Because I've seen that too.
One such kid who's weirdly has come back and worked with me here in the last 6 months. Weird how golf turns around like that.
Yeah. Sometimes it happens.
And I was like, that I'll just demonstrate it. I don't know if I can show it. He had a quarter of a knuckle visible in his left hand. And that's giving him some. So that thing's like, underneath.
Super
his
weak.
right hand is fitting with the left hand. The face is quite open. And he's 11. I was like, and his dad was like, this is just not going to work. I said, so beginning with the end in mind, I said, if you want to be a great player, let's just do this now. And he came back the next week, and I said, didn't do too much with the grip, eh? No, it felt bad.
Didn't change it, yeah.
I said, I don't care.
Love it.
I said, I was like, I'm not here to make you worse. That's not good for business. And that's not good for you. And neither one of those are double negatives. I said, I think you need to do this. And they decided not to come back. They decided to go elsewhere, which worked out great for him. He's got an offer to play Division I golf at a pretty good school. And, so it worked out, but I always think of it like with Brennans in the world and those kind of kids, like, all right, what's your goals? I just want to play with my friends. Okay, that's different than I want to play on the PGA Tour.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I think it would be great to kind of take us through, because there's so many. I've done a ton of podcasts with coaches, like college coaches, and obviously some players, and obviously I've lived it through my son a little bit.
Sure.
But taking yeah, so take us through, and we can dig into. I mean, I want to know sort of your philosophy on kids, because it's very, very interesting to me, and I want to get better. But what was that first meeting like? Was it different? Is there some indicators of like, this kid's special? You know what I'm saying? Like, take us through the sort of the journey that you guys had together. Cause I mean, it's been pretty amazing. Like, and I've been a fly on the wall for the last 3 years and watched his growth, which is unbelievable. And now he's going to go to Wake Forest. And I mean, it just take us through that and some of the things that would probably help other coaches out there that are getting those kids that are coming to them, and they're sort of making decisions on, what are the goals of this kid? Are they going to try to play college golf, or are they going to just have fun with their friends?
So, awkward first date, like,
those are always the best.
This kid's in front of me, like 11 years old. He's like, Dad's a great player. He said, and my thing is, and the same thing in the school system is, it doesn't matter how much you know, it matters how much you care, and that takes time to prove that. So a lot of enthusiasm. Yes, good job. Try not to use that of boys, but good job. Stuff. And
this is from the parent.
From me with the kid.
Oh, from you. Okay, gotcha.
Like,
I'm with you.
Here's what we're gonna do. Very simplistic. Not crazy technical, but just something that the kid can have success with early. And I know this sounds weird, but like I say, begin with the end in mind. But to get to the end, we need to have trust. Mm-hmm. And the kid needs to know that you know what you're doing. You can help him or her. And it's almost like what Jim would always say with those lessons. When that student hits that first ball, it better be a good one. And I just wanted to make sure with these kids is like, if I can give them some task, some slight change, it's not that, again, you have to read that student. Reading in the student might be the most important skill we have as instructors, right?
There you go. Now you're preaching.
I got to read that student, size him up. It's awkward. He's not giving me he's not fully free with me yet. He's cautious. I got to give him something that will give him some success instantaneously, almost rile him up with confidence, make him feel good about himself so that we can develop that trust. And so that's what I try to do with each kid that's new to me. And sometimes I do a good job, sometimes not, but I'm always trying to develop the relationship with them.
Yeah.
And then we can go into more wholesale changes if need be. I don't say wholesale because you take with what the kid's got and you try to make it as good as you can. But with him, it was fun because he was his brother has some health issues, but he's has a leg that's shorter than the other, and they had been spending most of their time as a family with his brother, helping him get through that period of time where he's trying to get healthier. And so with Michael, he was almost second fiddle, and I'll never forget that they got his brother kind of squared away a little bit more so, and they're like, all right, this is going to be the year of Michael. And you say, well, when did I know? It's like, boom, like, whoa, like, where did that, like, I mean, I knew he was pretty good, but an 11-year-old, how many people can predict an 11-year-old is going to be an all-star? The only time I've ever said with great certainty that it was going to happen was Lexi Thompson. I mean, I was like, this girl's crazy.
She's different. Yeah.
It's unique. And real quick with Lexi, I may have been like the best of the worst with her because one of the things we did is like she was hitting up on her pitch shots. And in that cool Florida morning, I just drew a painted line on the ground and said, literally this was from Martin Hall. He had just done a symposium there. And I was like, it's like, just land the club on the other side of the line. Just land it over there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny how he delivered it. And so I told her that, and she started hitting good pitches. And now so it was like, you need two people to put the divots back. I don't know.
So you were the key to her success.
Not even.
Low key.
She overcame my bad teaching when I was younger, and God bless her, she's done a great job of overcoming a lot. So give her credit. Root for her. Great. She's awesome. But with Michael, that summer, all of a sudden, he's like 68, 69, 70, winning all these tournaments. And me and his dad are just like.
So big jump, like with scoring and everything. Like, what were you guys doing at that time? Like, what were your coaching? Like, what was your plan? Like, was it a lot of block practice and mechanical stuff, or was it more?
Yeah.
Was there some performance things? Were you spending time on the golf course? That's kind of the stuff that I think would be interesting.
Yeah. Great question. It was actually, ironically, a lot of block stuff. It was a lot of let's drill this in until you get better at it. Knowing that his dad's golf IQ is pretty good. And so his dad is a great coach, and he runs drills and practices and things for his son. That's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, what is it? VJ Trulio has that awesome book where he says 70% of the success of a kid is the parents. I truly believe
that. That's my next topic was like, how parenting plays into it, but that's great to hear that he had that support and you guys obviously had to communicate to make sure you're on the same page.
So we, I'm a part of this, but you can ruin a player before you can make them great. So just patience, tortoise in the hair, the tortoise just keep inching along literally. And that's what we do. In a lot of block practice, a lot of just working on positions, working on body movements. We worked a lot on, he had what I call like the bird dog, pointer dog finish. His upper center was way out over top of his lower center. Fair enough.
I know what you're talking. Yeah, exactly.
And so we just worked a little, on that. And in later years, I had a chance to talk, at the MA PGA sections about working with juniors, and obviously they wanted to hear about Michael and stuff and how he. And so I'd ask them, like, what things did I help you with the most? And they're like, oh, you provided a lot of stability in the lower body and foundation for how to move. And I'm like, wow, I didn't realize I did all that. It's like, because it's just, you kind of forget all the stuff early on that you worked on. But I just try to develop that trust. And we did a lot of block practice, and he got, little bits of, and he, when you have talented individuals who are committed, as long as you deliver a respectable, like I said, if you're with McLean and you're around all those great instructors, you just have to be at least decent. As long as you're just decent and you have that trust and you have a kid that works his tail off and he believes in it, then you have a chance to develop some pretty cool talent. And his dad said, he's like, listen, you got to be a little careful with what you tell him, because he hangs on your every word. I'm like, really? It's like, well, he's young, he'll learn. But he goes, he's like, you told him about his practice routine before a tournament. Now we got to get to the course an hour and a half, 2 hours before his tee time. He's like, take it down a little bit, man. He's got a 7 a.m. tee time. We've got to get there at 4:30, 5 o'clock, go through all the stuff. And I'm like,
you don't realize they're paying attention a lot of times, right?
He's listening to everything you said. And he said something the other day for the coaches out there. He was nice enough. I invited him to come to some of our group elite coaching classes, and we throw the word around elite. Like, who is elite? Like, I would say DeChambeau is elite. I would say Tiger Woods is elite. I mean, we're talking the cream of cream, right? But anyway, that's what we call it. And he came out, and I had things. This came from Adam Young, and obviously he's amazing. Gosh, the practice manual, every coach should read that. And so I got all these things folded up in a cap. Actually, it's an old paper cup, and I'm like, I pull the thing out of the cap, and I read it. I was like, closed face, lining up off the toe, low fades. Good luck, gentlemen. Let's see who can hit that shot. and we have some goalposts way out there, and these kids are into it. And Michael's there, and he's like, oh man, I'm like, we're just trying to develop an awareness of the club face. We're trying to, our goal in golf, my philosophy is like, we want to decrease variability in your golf swing, but make sure the variability that you have, you're very good at it. You know how to make adjustments. You know how to control things. You know how to save it, whatever you call it. And so he's now at Wake Forest, and I was like, hey, how are things going? We were talking about it. I said, things are looking good. His swings, your release, he gets the toe a little over the past the shaft on the exit. And I'm like, you're getting that toe, blah, blah. He knew what we were talking about. So the next time we talked, he's like, hey, I just want to, I was working on that. Remember when we were doing that coaching class and you had closed face, toe, low cuts? I was like, yeah. He's like, that really helped me understand the way. And so for me, it's just giving students a chance to be successful. No one else may have used that. It's like, I don't want to say you're throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. You just like, some kids like it. Some kids like it sticks. And they use it, and it becomes, and so I try to give them a lot of ways to envision things and see things. And I always, I mean, if anyone ever wanted to waste some time and come watch me teach, I always ask, like, the student, adult or young or old, doesn't matter. What's it feel like to you? What's it feel? Tell me describe what it feels like.
Right?
And so that helps them, imprint it in their brain. It helps them own what they're doing. It gives me something to kind of reiterate, and we just keep going.
Yeah, I like it. I've seen following you online and Instagram, and you seem to put like a lot of your juniors into those groups. I mean, I think that's super valuable. Is that a big part of like how you've developed a lot of the kids? Like they start in the groups and then you sort of break them out into more of a one-on-one. Like, give us a little insight into sort of how you program your kids and sort of bring them up through the ranks.
Well, I most of the kids, honestly, they start one-on-one, and they come try me out, and vice versa to some degree, right? It's got to be a fit. I tell the parents, I tell the kids, look, you may have heard I'm great that's maybe true and maybe not. But if you don't feel a connection, this is your career. This is not about me. If you have any trepidation, it's okay. So I want them to feel comfortable first. I might be able to help them. I feel confident over these years that I can probably help them some from all the years of watching teachers and like yourself and others around the country. And social media has been great for learning things and seminars and webinars. It's just amazing how much information we can learn. So I start with them in one-on-one setting. And then the way that, this is going to sound weird, but the way the group classes started, one of the parents said, hey, this winter, would you be willing to, if I get a few kids together, work with them in really a group environment, because they all get along together. And the group synergy we know is just from studying other areas. Group synergy is a powerful tool. And so we're, as great as the facility is at 1757 from a aesthetic standpoint, a building standpoint, there's no heat in the bays. And these kids always posted. And it's 30 degrees outside and the wind's blowing and we're training.
I've seen those videos. It's crazy. They're getting after it, and that you're invested.
So what do we take? Guys, you need to have at least an idea of what the ball's going to do when it hits the ground, right? And the ground's frozen, so let's just go through the exercise. Here's an orange post out here. It's 105 yards away. We're elevated. The wind. Where do you think? What kind of shot you need to hit? What kind of ways could you get it to go on the green? Talk it out. Think about it. Let's have a competition. And they loved it. And so I invite them to the group. That is how the group started. And then I invite others to different groups, and I try to bring other people to the group so they can try it out. But the group synergy there has to be a nice dynamic there for it to work the way it's designed. 6 kids in an environment for an hour, for example, we can do the math on that. It's 10 minutes, so to speak, per hour that a kid's getting individually if we just do the math. But the way that they're learning from each other, I love bringing them in a group and just asking open-ended questions. Hey, you guys ever nervous over a 4-footer? You ever been what do you do? And they just start talking to each other, and all of a sudden, Michael Brennan is nervous over a 4-footer. Holy cow! I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
And so they just open up. They feel comfortable, and it's no different than being in school, right? We want to have a safe learning environment. And I think all great coaches are good at that. It's safe. The kids feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think environment. It's such a huge deal. That's where I'm so fortunate at Carmel because
the dojo.
Yeah, but it's not even that. It's just the entire facility and how many people and how many kids we have there. And I just know from a parent, watching my kid grow up there, the environment of other kids, mentoring kids, which is something that I definitely think is important. It sounds like Michael is starting to take that mentoring role and share with other kids. And that's just fantastic. I think my kid wouldn't be where he's at without the kids that are in college now or playing professionally that have taken the time to be nice to him and practice with him and share stories and then go play golf with him and stuff like that. It's got to be something that you've created there from the environment perspective that makes it a success.
And I can't take full credit because of the number of kids. I try to help as many kids as possible and put them in the group environment, but they have their own, we're on a Squadcast thing here, right? Shout out to Squadcast, but they have their own squad that they have kind of created. Some of the kids out there don't work with me.
Yeah,
or
same way
staff.
with mine. Yeah, it's just the entire deal is I think important.
Oh, and I'm like, I think they get a little surprised because I'll go up to them and say, "Hey, great tournament last week," and they almost feel like, "Well, I don't work with you. Are you? How do you say?" I'm like, "No, I just want you to do well,
That's right.
man." I want you guys to all do great. I want you guys to push each other. I want this to be a hot spot from a golf instruction standpoint where it's this little area is you guys push each other, and I want you to beat my guys. They're not my guys, but let's just I want you to beat them, and then they have to get better to beat you. I want you guys all to continue to do that, and it's always just about like the process of trying to get better. For me, it doesn't matter what tournament you won, celebrate it certainly, but I'm always like, what's next? What are you going to do to get better tomorrow?
Yeah, 100%. So what technology are you big on nowadays in training your kids? And then how do you utilize that? And then sort of a follow-up question is the percentage of, we spoke earlier about block practice versus performance practice and some of the things that you're doing with them off of technology or like spending time on the golf course. Like, how do you blend that to help your kids and help them perform their best?
This is going to sound weird. Since I started the school thing 5 years ago, it takes up a lot of time, and it's challenging to become comfortable enough with the technology. Some of the technologies out there. It's definitely something I have to recommit to. I use TrackMan mostly, and obviously video, but outside of that, I use KVest occasionally, but that's what I use. I don't use as much as others do, and that's something I definitely can improve upon as an instructor without question. But from a performance-based standpoint, I love getting on the course and talking, strategy and shot making and entry points. I love getting out there. It's like, all right, guys, here we are. Let's and then back into the group environment. Like, what do you guys see here? And I let them talk first, and then I say, okay, that's good. And I bring out stats like, obviously Scott Fawcett and Lou Stanger. Just how cool is that to them to bring out all that data and just hearing it. I'm like, kids, just follow these guys. I'm going to tell you regardless. But if you don't want to hear it from me all the time, just follow them and start paying attention to stuff, because your expectations are outlandish. Right. That's not helping your performance on the course. You're making some decisions based on you're basing your performance on data that doesn't exist, on expectations that are better than the best players in the world. And let me remind you, you're not a tour player. You're 13, 14, 15, and you're many, many eons away from that in performance. Not to kill your confidence, but so you're already. So I like to get on the course, and situational awareness is my favorite thing. You need to take notice of everything. You need to know like you should be paying attention to everything. If you can see a green and you can see someone hitting into that green, you better be watching how that ball reacts. You might pick up something that saves you 3 feet in terms of your proximity that might make you another putt. And then how do you break down a hole? What are some ways you guys break down holes? We were on our 18th hole, which is a par 3. And I was like, all right, here, gentlemen, here we go. Let's go through all the variables that we can think of. Here's the pin. It's 167 to the pin. Okay, great. It's a kind of a pond, man-made pond in front of the ring, and there's a rock wall. It's 159 to the rock wall. There's 3 yards between the rock wall and the front of the green, so you've got 162 to the front edge. You've got 175 to the back bunker. That's on line with the pin, though, but you have a lot more room to the left. I says, let's go through all the variables. There's 6 kids. We go through all the variables. I said, okay, so that took a half an hour. I said, this is going to take a long time because we need to discuss all the possible things that you could think of. And then when you're ready to play, you go through your play box, routine. You go through your routine and do your thing. We talk about routine and pre-shot routine not being the same thing. Pre-shot routine, I think, encompasses everything sometimes, and everyone's like, everything you do before you hit the shot is a pre-shot. And I was like, yes, but let's break it down more. And so we get through doing that, and the kids hit their shots, and 6 out of 6 kids hit the green. But, so we get down there, and oddly enough, Michael comes down there, and he's got this look on his face. Coach? I was like, yes, sir, what's up? I forgot a variable. I was like, what do you mean? We forgot to discuss the firmness of the green. I said, tell me more. He's like, I thought with the conditions, I didn't think about it. The ball hit and released 4 more steps than I thought. I'm in the back fringe now, and if I had just thought that through, and I hit the same, the shot the way I hit a good shot, but I just missed it, and so therefore my landing spot, the effective distance it was playing was too far, and I missed that step, and I'm like,
that's next level, right?
This is great stuff. And I said, guys, come over, and we all discussed it and talked about it, and I said, Michael may be considered a great player, so be it, but he's still trying to grow, still trying to learn. He's seeing where he can get better. He's seeing where he's falling short. He's seeing, if you hit a great shot and that ball ends up 27 feet instead of 21 feet, go look at the stats, at the percentage of make putts. I mean, this is a fractional game. It's a precise game, and every inch and foot counts, and just be aware of that stuff and just pay attention. So that's what we do, a lot of that. And
that's great. Any of games, or any of your favorite games or strategies besides that? I mean, I think that's fantastic. It's just getting kids to be aware is a difficult thing at 13 to 15, aside from looking at their phone. But any games do you do anything strategy wise to kind of push them into uncomfortable situation or add stress?
Yeah, that's something that's something that Ian Highfield does a great job of that, right? And he's amazing at that stuff.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
I think, I have done some of his things where, get the heart rate up and try to hit the shot, adding pressure, farthest from the pin, just adding some kind of sort of pressure, right? Farthest from the pin has to do a lap around the putting green or something, and everyone gets to see it and ride you and ridicule you as you go through it. I also like to just sometimes create things that they wouldn't normally do. It's let's divide the green in 4 sections here, and let's see if you can hit it in the front left corner with these conditions, and back right corner and back left corner. Sometimes just one area, and even though the pin's over here, what would it take to hit it over there if you had to? Because most of the time the kids are pin seeking most of the time, and they don't, think about the consequences. So I do some of that. I definitely can improve some of those areas, no doubt, and add some tools to the repertoire. But I try to create an environment where they're just nervous, slightly anxious, even if it's just I split them into teams, play Ryder Cup style things, or mano-a-mano, closest to the pins and lowest score, and then which team can beat each other in alternate shot. So I just try to create some games like that nothing revolutionary. People, I'm sure, use many, many other kind of forms of games and different things that are just as good. But I always try to create, when we do the group stuff on the course, what's the purpose? Are we going out there to learn shots, putting them behind a tree and discussing it, or are we going out there and competing and trying to just increase the performance? And when you have a group, you have a lot more options because you can put the strong player with the weak player, or you put 2 strong players against the 2 weak players, and have them go at it.
Yeah, that the group setting almost provides the stress, right?
Yeah, right.
The peer pressure that I think is great. My buddy Chris Trevino talks a lot about that, and the importance of getting kids out there together is they're going to be hard on themselves and then want to perform for the group. So I think that's fantastic. So talk a little bit about the mental side of, what we do, because you spoke earlier about we have to wear a lot of different hats, especially with these kids. And when they're going through that sort of 13 to 16-year-old range, when, they're growing, they're maturing, their bodies are changing. There's a lot of stuff going on emotionally. Any go-tos that you have? sometimes I struggle with that. Like when to be like, I get kids that are, where I'm constantly back and forth texting them after rounds and talking to them and talking to their parents, and the balance of having that sort of tough love moments with them and then also encouraging them, I think can be challenging as coaches. Any insights on how we can do better at that?
Yeah,
Any stories?
Both.
Yeah.
I think I wish if there was, that would be a great, if I could do one thing and someone could say you're great at one, I'd love to be great at that, from not just from a golf perspective, from a school perspective too, but I knowing the kid is super important to start with, but those age ranges you talk about, I have one kid who's a world beater. He's I started working with him when he was 11 also, and now he's 5 inches almost taller than me. I'm like, look, dude, if you don't stop growing, I can't reach you. I can't get it. I'm only 5'9", 8 here. I can't reach you. But I said, look, and he's all world. He's like, writing stories about him. Everyone's like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, look, I want you to understand the hardest thing that you're going to have to go through is when you grow and you have these expectations for your performance, and there's a likelihood that you're going to take a dip in your performance.
Yes.
So how you come out of that will determine how great you are, because you're going to grow, you're going to go through it. I'm going to be here to support you. I'm never going to give up on you. But just be ready for it. And so I set that stage, years before. Now, you're great now, but you're going to grow and things are going to happen. It's just, so you're going to have to rely on other parts of your game, and it's going to tell you what areas are really great and which ones are not. And when you come out of it, you're going to be stronger, faster. I tell them hopefully better looking, but and hopefully smarter. I'm always busting on that. Like, hey, you're pretty good, but man, you got to fix that.
You're a really ugly kid right now.
Don't worry, you'll grow. It'll get better. I promise. I hope. Still hope. Look, I'm still hopeful. I hope I look better when I'm older. But I always create that environment where it's like jovial, but I love you, but but don't get too high on yourself. Don't just hang in there. And so he's growing. Mm-hmm. He's fast, and he's not as good as he thought he would be right now. And I was like, just keep going. Let's just keep going. And
yeah,
if there's one thing I don't like to toot my horn ever, but if there's one thing I'm proud of myself for being able to do is handle that transition for kids, and just being able to take a step back, look at it from a bird's eye view, knowing that they're going through a lot. The hormones are off the charts. Their body is growing off the charts. I walked in the other day, this is about 3 months ago, and I hadn't seen this young man for, because of tournaments. And I walked in, and I literally was like, hey, what the? I was like, what? Like, and his dad's like, yeah, it's like, no. He's like noticeably, I haven't seen you for a few weeks, and he's noticeably taller. I'm like, ooh. So, all right.
Yeah.
So this is where, when do you, all right, puberty, stronger, when do you start like trying to get that growing young man or young woman to develop that swing, for a lifetime? That's a little bit ambiguous, but you know what I mean? And when they win, I tell them, great job, proud of you, but tomorrow is a new day. And then when they're struggling, I'm like, hey, good job, man. I'm so proud of you. I find something they did well. And I take that like simple, adage when they finish a term, like, what did you do really well? Always start with the positive. What did you do well? What do you think you could have done better? And then what did you learn? And I will not let them, because sometimes they're like, I was terrible, I couldn't hit the ball. No. What did you do well? take a second if you need to, but just tell me what you did really well. Because 77, like that's not a chump. I mean, you had to still play some golf to shoot that. Could have been 82 if you weren't. You had to do something to be great. So what was that? And I'm like, good. Just build on that. That's awesome. Just, I'm proud of you. I always say, I'm proud of you. I'm proud for your effort. I appreciate your effort. I appreciate your commitment. I appreciate your commitment to what we do. I mean, that's so cool. I really appreciate. I just a lot of thank you. Just thank you for being you. Thank you for trying to be great. Thank you for taking the chance to be bad. Thank you for putting yourself out there. See, it's not easy. I really appreciate you sharing the journey with me, and let's just keep trying to get better.
Yeah, because that's fantastic, and because they're always comparing themselves to the other kids, right? And it's hard to get them, especially in that growth spurt. Because I think I seen it. I mean, even with Nick grew 9 inches in 1 year, and we had a huge slump, and so we've been through it, and I see it in my kids now that I coach, and I have coached over the years. It was funny. This has been years ago. I just remember my buddy Tim Cook that teaches down in Hilton Head. I was asking about that. I'm like, what's the deal? Like, what do you do? And he's like, a lot of the coaches in Europe will like take kids out of tournaments, like at that time frame, which I'm not sure I agree with, but I mean, it's because they just know it's coming, but the kid's going through it. Right. So it's like, it's difficult for us we've got to be sort of child psychologists. And I think you're right. You're exactly right, because that's the number one skill that I wish I was better at, and I try to get better at every day, is just communicating with that. You have that relationship, you've built that relationship, and they trust you.
Yeah.
But it's so difficult to know what to say and when to say it.
True, and I've stumbled, and I've actually been like, hey, look, I just want to, hey, come here. I just want to let you know what I said the other day. I was thinking about it. I think I made a mistake in how I said that. I'm human. We're all human. But I'm a huge, huge fan, and in no better time than now, right? But like adversity training, So while those European coaches, fantastic, that's definitely a strategy to take them out of tournaments. I'm like, look, you're going to face a tremendous amount of adversity in your life. You don't even know it's coming, and hitting a golf ball around a field and trying to put it in a hole is a form of adversity if you consider it such, right? If you're not doing that as well as you like. So you hear, hey, college coaches, I tell them all the time, college coaches already know you're good. If they're coming to see you, great. You play, you can't break an egg, so be it. They want to know what you look like. They want to know how you are. They want to know if you're going to break. They want to know, because they need to know.
Yeah. What do you look like when you're struggling is really what I've gotten from feedback from coaches. They already know when they're playing well, they're going to be happy.
You're chasing rankings. You're afraid. And I hate that stuff, but it's like, hey, I'm in the top 100. Yeah. I'm like, good job. Like, okay, but what are you going to do to get better? But so I think adversity is I was like, and I tell them, I was like, oh, you just want to be the 100th best player in the world, the 100th best junior in the country. You don't want to be the 90th best player in the country, or the 80th best player. Your goal is to just be the 100th best player. Well, no. It's like, well, let's reset your goals. And like, if that's the case, like, I appreciate you sharing that, and it obviously means a lot to you, and I love that, but that's not I don't think that's what you designed to do, right? I said, so if you think you can go from, this is how I use the rankings. Like, if you think you can go from 300 to 200 as easy as you can go from 100 to 50, that's not easy. So are you willing to do? It's going to, everything you do now will set the stage for how successful you are later, not just in golf, but your work ethic, what you do, and how you go about it. And so I just try to, there are definitely times you got to put your arm around them and say, hey, I'm really proud of you. You're doing great stuff. Yeah, but I don't care if you shot 85. I mean, if you told me you grinded it out and shot 84, I'm like, that's fantastic because you might have shot 90 if you didn't. So that's something you should be proud of.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as they didn't quit, right? And like, the WD or like pull out of a tournament because they're playing bad. Like it's all that. I think more than anything, we're trying to help the parents because they're the ones that are spending the time. It's like I get the text from the parents saying, hey, he's struggling. And you want to say, and I'll tell them flat out, I'm like, look, this is a good thing. Like you said, the adversity is going to breed success. Like he's going to be stronger when he comes out of this. He just doesn't know it. And you don't know it because we want our kids to do well. You know what I mean? Like it's such a fine line. And I get it because I've been on both sides of it, being a parent and a coach. But nobody wants to hear that. I didn't want to hear it. And my kid's struggling. I'm like, are you crazy? He's like, he's so much better than this. But now coming out the other side, I understand how important it is for them to kind of deal with that hardship. Like if they were great all the way through their junior careers, then they probably wouldn't be a very good college player or a good professional. It's like those little bumps in the roads are really what make them what they are.
Yeah. And you touched on something there that I think every, coach, like, the difference in teaching and coaching, right? But I want to be a teacher, but a coach. Teaching is obviously a subset of coaching. And so coaching is not only reserved for the kids, almost not. Sometimes the coaching is obviously more for the parents, as you can appreciate. And I'm a
100%.
I've heard, kick the parents out. I've never done that because it takes a village. VJ Trulio's ratio, like 70% of it's the parents, the family support, the environment that's created at home. The rest is maybe the coach. I believe that. I've always believed that. He put it in writing, so it's like crystallized it for me. But I need them on board as much as I need the kid on board because the kid, the student, the kid is, and the golfers, junior golfers, going to look to their parents as in a perfect environment and in a utopian society, as a kid would. They're gonna go to that support system they have, and that's usually their parents. And it's sometimes two parents, right? It's like both of them, and sometimes there's one parent's on the sidelines, but they're more influential than you think. See, I just try to make sure that they understand that they can ask me. Like, when we have young kids, we almost get annoyed, like, pick that up. Why? What? What do you? I love that question. Why? Like I say, just ask me. And if you don't like my answer, then that you should consider. Like if I don't explain why I'm doing this in enough of a fact, then you have to feel comfortable. So always ask why. Why are we changing the grip? Why are we working on these shots around the greens? Why are we? And I'm like, here, and I'm going to tell you why I'm doing that, and you have to have that buy-in. And I'm just like honest, like I want to be as transparent as I can be, and I would expect that from the student and the parents. And they have come to me and say, hey, like to your point, well, I had a student, my daughter is not doing that well, and it's this year, and I almost want to say, just be thankful you're alive right now. I mean, seriously, like it's like I don't want to discount your daughter's shooting a couple shots higher than she wants, but let's just take it down a notch and get some perspective here, right? But I didn't say that. So I said, oh, that's okay. I took a couple months off for the for the COVID, and felt comfortable enough to go back. So some of my students were like, I'm like, maybe they're going to leave. I mean, I can't blame them. I haven't been around. I totally understand it. But she stuck around and she started playing. We didn't do a ton of things because the season, as you can appreciate, how do you periodize what you're teaching students? Like, when do you say what when? And just make a gigantic swing change before your season starts may not be the best strategy in some cases, right? So
Right.
just kind of fixes, I wouldn't say Band-Aids, but just, hey, encouraging, let's keep working on this. And they were like, oh, my daughter's not playing well. And what are we going to do? I don't know. What should we do? Should we get together and meet? And so I took it as like, all right, I appreciate that, but she has a few more tournaments. She's not playing as well as she'd like. Anyway, agreed. I was like, then we're going to shift to let's go change some things. Are you guys okay with that? Well, seems like better than nothing. I'm like, when we changed, we were going to do this towards the end of the season, but we're going to now, if we're in a core here, Captain Sparrow, we're going to do this now. And they're like, we have an accord. I'm like, let's go. Because now it's going to be serious. Like hang in there.
Yeah.
And ironically, this is where you as a coach, like, should I? She's doing much better now. And you're just kind of like, should I have done that sooner?
Yeah. You don't know how quickly they would adapt. You know what I mean? You just don't know. Like we're not featured. We don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah, Confucius, I am not, but I wish I was.
Yeah, we're trying to make the best decisions we can for the kids, and some are going to stick, and some are going to make them maybe go through a little downtime. But you're right. That's why it just goes back to your original point of like building that relationship. Do you trust me?
Yes.
Right. It's like, do you trust me with your kid to make these decisions? And when you get that buy-in from the kid, it's one thing, but you got to get the buy-in from the whole family, basically, and then that's when it all works.
Yeah, and that you're 100% right. And I, as I've aged, I've just been more willing to ask those tough questions, and I've been more willing to accept the answers. They're not always what you want to hear, and that's okay. I just like. I know that I'm going to try to help your son or daughter as much as I am capable. There are a lot of probably people that are as or more capable, but as long as you're transparent, as long as we're honest with each other, and we share things. That's the nature of any good relationship, right? Whether it's marriage or whether it's a junior golf coach and a kid, parents. So let's just have an open-ended conversation and talk about it, and decide what's in the best interest of the kid, because that's always what it's about. It's not about me. Absolutely. I don't care if I get an award or ranking. It doesn't. It's just trying to help your son or daughter navigate through this journey in their life. We don't even know if they're going to play golf when they get. Who knows? But I'm just trying to help them. And I want it to be a positive environment, positive relationship, where they can look back and say, that was pretty fun years.
Yeah.
Working with that Guru Sutton guy. I loved working with him. He was so fun. That's that's the kind of thing you want to hear, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You want to have an impact in their lives. And yeah, we have a very, very short window to do that. So
yeah. It's fun. It's a fun journey.
This has been incredible. I feel like we could go for 2 more hours, but
yeah,
I want to be.
Forever.
Yeah, I want to be cognizant of your time, and I appreciate you coming on. You got to answer one more question.
Oh,
everybody has to answer this question.
Oh dear.
And then we'll wrap up. But maybe we'll do a part 2.
Okay.
If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, metaphorically speaking, of course, and get a message out to the world, billions of people, pretty poignant right now with the debate. You're running for president right now of the golf industry. What would that message be and why?
Well, if it's in the golf industry,
no, it can be anything. Okay. I enjoy golf or anything with life. Just it could be a quote, it could be a mantra. Like, sure. What do you want to say to the world?
We're very simply, we are all in this together, and we only have one planet, and let's do everything we can to make it as habitable, as livable as possible, and I haven't even been drinking, and as safe, like a safe environment for everyone in the world as possible, and whatever that entails, politically, economically. Let's just try to become more of a global society that we all love each other and try to care for each other. I know that sounds a little wishy-washy, but
that's okay.
Yeah, but
great message.
I believe it. I wish we could all get more bonding and get along with everyone else, and especially during this time. So it's reminding me more that we all need to help each other out, and we could all do better, myself included.
Absolutely. So tell the listeners how they can get a hold of you, how they can follow you on social, anything else, any parting words, but let them know how they can reach out and say thank you and give you a social wave.
Well, for anyone who was nice enough to hang in there that long and listen to that, I appreciate you. I'm on Twitter. I think it's Adam Harrell Golf, and I have my Instagram is EPG Academy, which was my former. I just haven't changed the handle. It's EPG Academy. I think I spelled it right too, so make sure you have correct spelling. And obviously, my email, if you ever wanted to shoot me an email, is my first name, first letter of my first name, A Harrell, HARRELL, at 1757golfclub.com. That's the easiest. Love to hear from you. I don't know if I can help you, but if I could, I'd love to. If you have any suggestions for me to get better, I'd love to hear those too. Because I know that I could be better in. Or if you just wanted to just say, you're a knucklehead, I don't know what you were talking about on that podcast, that's fine. That's fine too. It's all good. But hopefully I'll hear from a couple of you, and maybe I'll get a chance to be a guest on here some other time.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, my friend. You're the best.
Guru,
keep up the great work.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate all the things you're doing in the golf world and in life as well. So thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate you.
All right, till next time.
What's up, everybody? Guru back here again with a couple of things before you jump off. First, big thank you to Adam for coming on the show and sharing his story and his incredible knowledge and insight on teaching and coaching. Make sure you follow him on the gram and Twitter at Adam Harrell Golf and give him a social wave. Also, thank you to our sponsors, Straight Down Apparel, enviedhemp.com, and Swing U. When you go and buy your CBD products, make sure you use the promo code GURU20 for a 20% discount for life, and that is enviedhemp.com. You won't be disappointed. Also, make sure you go to the App Store and download the Golf Guru app. You can also follow and reach me on Twitter or Instagram at Golf Guru TV. It's at Golf Guru TV. Also, check out my website, new and improved, at thegolfgurutv.net, where you can find videos, articles, and more information on my teaching and coaching. And then make sure you leave your email at the bottom so you can receive my weekly newsletter that comes out every Friday morning with more video content and tips. If you have a question for the show, send me an email at golfgurushow@gmail.com, or just hit me up on the DM at Instagram or Twitter like most people do. This show and all episodes of the Golf Guru Show was produced by myself, Jason Sutton. Music is by Kevin MacLeod and Zach Mullett. And as I always leave you with, the infamous Jim Rohn mantra: study, practice, teach, and then pass it on. Thanks for listening.